months. I have done a lot of changes in the past couple months. I did this whole road rally, which I didn't film anything other than a couple clips from racing. Other than that, didn't film anything that I was planning on filming, so I didn't do that. But I had a lot of car changes just in the past, I don't know, 4 months. So I sold the 944 and I bought a Scirocco and a motorcycle. Let me show you what they look like. This is the Scirocco. It's a 1977 Scirocco. It's got really cool history to it. It was bought in the 70s by a woman called Julie Clark, who is a professional stunt pilot, and found out she was one of the first female airline pilots. So I'll go more into that, but it has an engine swap, and I've already fixed a lot of the wiring issues with it. It's a mess there. Next is the project for the Scout. Got the interior stripped and the door and the fender off, which I need to replace. And I have ordered the fenders here that I'm going to be replacing. So I'm going to have to pull the top off and replace all that, drill out all the spot welds, put that back on. And then the newest project, which is going to be one of my favorites, I mean the Scirocco is cool, is this 1972 BMW R75/5. It popped up on Facebook Marketplace, and it is the exact same year as my 2002. So I thought it'd be really cool to have a matching motorcycle car. And the cool thing is the gas tank is awesome. It's called the toaster tank, which I guess back in the 70s they didn't really like them that much. But what's really cool is these 3 stripes here kind of represent the 3 stripes of the grill. So I think it kind of fits pretty well together. So for the motorcycle, the first step I'm going to do is I bought it not running. The last time it was inspected was 2008. I have an issue with getting vehicles and cars that haven't ran for over 10 years. It has compression, has spark. Gas tank was filled, but they closed it off. First thing I'm going to do, empty the gas tank. I'm going to replace just this line for now. I'm going to add a filter in it just for starting purposes, because you know it's going to suck getting rust in there. I'm going to seal the tank and then rebuild the carbs at some point. I'm going to attempt today to get it running with the current carbs. There shouldn't be any fuel in this. Let's see. Yeah, it's dry and it doesn't look too rusty. There is some gunk in there, but so I do have a rebuild kit for this carb, which I'm going to do at some point, but just for today I just want to get it running to make sure everything's good with it. Big plans for the bike is I am going to go for more of a cafe racer style. I'm going to lower it, get a new suspension in the rear, take out the subframe here, shorten it. Haven't decided if I was going to do a cowl or not a cowl in the rear with the lights. I want to keep it possible that if I can always revert it back to stock. So I won't be cutting anything. The cool thing is the subframe is a bolt-on part, so I can bolt on a subframe and then weld to what I want without having to cut the actual frame itself. So if I ever wanted to bring this back to stock condition, there's a possibility. So today I'm just gonna dive into this and try to get it started. I bought a new battery for it because the battery is super old. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do, pull the old battery, maybe pull the seat, and see if I can get it started. The GoPro died, so I'm going to show you what I've done since it died. I got the front part of the engine off where the timing and the points and everything are, and I got the starter. So I was jumping the starter because for some reason the switch up here wasn't working. So I was jumping the starter up here and it was clicking. I wanted to make sure the starter was fine. From what I was reading, there's a lot of issues with the relay and stuff like that. So I got it to where it can spin freely, and that's without spark plugs in it. So no compression, so it can be easier. Next step I'm going to do is throw the spark plugs in, and I did throw a little bit of oil into the cylinder to lube up the pistons because I don't know how long it's been sitting not running. So did that just for preventative. Now I'm going to throw the spark plugs in and just hand tight to see if the starter can turn it over with compression. But I lied. I think I'm going to test out to see how strong the spark is first, just a visual test. So I'm going to hook up the spark plugs and kick the starter on and see what it looks like. I got the spark plugs just resting on the cylinders. Let's just see if they do any spark. So let me just hit the starter. Got spark there. We got spark there. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to put the spark plugs in, see if the starter turns over with the compression, and if it does, I might just throw a little bit of starting fluid in and see if it just fires. If it fires, then that's good. And the next step is just to get some temporary fuel into the carbs and see if it will run off of that. Now, for anyone who's taking apart one of these, there wasn't a lot of good instruction online on how to take these covers off. I mean, it's really basic, but since I've never actually taken these off before, it's literally just 2 little bolts for the cover, and then mine have been sealed for a long time, so I had to give it a little bit of tapping to get it off. It really wasn't that bad, but anyone who is trying to do it should know that you just got to tap it and kind of pry it off with no problem. Same with the front. The front came off fine. The airbox is a little bit more complicated. You actually got to pull stuff apart there. I'm not going to touch that right now. So let's get this last spark plug in. I got a little bit of charge on the battery. Well, that's awesome. Okay, I'm calling it quits today. It's crappy weather. Next step is to get the gas tank, new fuel line. I'm gonna put new spark plugs in it. Put a filter in until I can get the gas tank lined, and go from there. I think I might still pull the carbs before I even do that and just rebuild them. It's easy enough. The kit costs like $10, so I'll throw that there. I've never built these type of carbs before, but I mean, all carbs are basically the same in some sort of way. The only thing I want to be sure about is not losing the, I guess, keeping them equal. Since they're two separate carbs, I don't want them to be off sync and one pulling too much fuel. So maybe before I even build that, I'll try cleaning the bowls, checking the floats, and then just putting gas in it, put new fuel lines in with a fuel filter, and test it out that way. I think it can get it running, which would be awesome. And then it will be off to the next steps.